All right, everyone, we should be live. Let's make sure that's actually the case over on Rumble, of course, which I need to refresh because it's doing that little processing thing again this time, and then I have to pause it, of course. Going on a little bit early here, 11:30 p.m., a.m. Eastern is normally when I go live, so no, I'm actually not late unless I start after that. Sometimes necessity calls, but generally I start a little bit early. Got to get out into the garden a little bit later, actually, because I had to plant most of the hot weather crops yesterday out of necessity. And we do have a few good days of rain ahead of us. So I figure if I plant the corn and the beans and then put out the winter squash, the Three Sisters methodology, it should do fine. It'll stay above 40 at night, so it's not going to get frosted. Should be a little bit warmer than that generally, so things will germinate fairly well. We've got some things to talk about today. We've got the Georgia Appeals Court taking up the case against Fani Willis. Of course, she was allowed originally to stay on in the Fulton County Court in the case there to prosecute Donald Trump for the RICO charges, but only if Nathan Wade was let go of, and he wandered off and is doing his thing. But now the Court of Appeals is going to consider whether she should be on the case at all. In the off chance that they remove her from the case, there are various ramifications that we can talk about. Biden is trying to buy votes again. With his latest student debt grift, people don't seem too enthused about it. Part of it ties into the Gaza student protests, actually. People who would normally be amenable to the idea are like, well, yeah, but a lot of these students are just wasting their time with Hamas flags and stuff like that. I have my own thoughts on that. Israel-Gaza war live. Netanyahu says ceasefire proposal accepted by Hamas falls short of key demands. It's similar to the ceasefire proposal that Israel had agreed to, but it's a separate proposal brokered by the Egyptians, actually. So, we'll see what happens. They may get a ceasefire in the end, but it won't be in that particular form. CNN legal analyst stunned by Stormy Daniels admitting that she hates Trump in her testimony. That part I don't really care about. The Stormy Daniels testimony, if you watched any of that, did go off the rails to the point where afterwards even Merchan pointed out, well, there were some things that were discussed there that maybe we shouldn't have been discussing. No shit. You're threatening to jail Donald Trump. By the way, Stormy still owes Donald Trump, what was it, 150 grand in the case against her. And he was found in his favor in that one. They've got a new Swiss Army knife. Don't worry, it's not replacing the old one that's actually got a blade in it. But they're trying to create a bladeless version for the cucked nations in the world, like in Great Britain, where you have to bend that knife. I guess maybe you can't get a normal Swiss Army knife without an ID. So they're creating a version that still has tools on it, but it is missing one of its main tools, the reason why half the people buy them. And then we'll analyze, is Maine actually in play for the 2024 election? Maybe. We'll get into it. There's some polls that are mentioned there, but you have a relative lack of polling, and a single poll does not an aggregate make. So we'll see. It may be in play. And if Maine, by the way, goes for Donald Trump, or Virginia for that matter, the election is fundamentally over. Tigers are my totem, sent $5. No comment. Thank you very much. By the way, today I am not going to be eating ketchup on dried insects or anything like that. I have decided that occasionally I'll shake it up and do something zany, but that's not really what my live streams are about. Mostly it's about the news and then some random bants about food or gardening or something like that. BW. I see everyone complaining about how Elon is still banning people on Twitter. I know that is bad, but we have to remember something. Elon is still a leftist, not a far leftoid, but not the right either. Well, I wouldn't call him, I would call him a liberal, small L liberal. Yes, indeed. This site has improved, but there are still things that need to be tinkered with. Yeah. And a follow-up. So he's not going to be perfect, and he's not going to be actual free speech. He's just a lot better than Dorsey and Agrawal. Well, yeah, but I talked about Dorsey just this morning. He abandoned Blue Sky in order to applaud Elon Musk and told people to use Twitter, which I find funny. John Hoyle, for any of your black viewers, I'll be glad to volunteer to teach what a computer is and how to spell it. I don't know how they can be viewing you, though. Maybe a white person is helping them. Yeah, Hochul the other day, governor of New York, saying that she felt that there were black kids in the Bronx that didn't know what a computer was. She was trying to refer to grammar, like education. It didn't come off that way. BW. We on the right have a tendency to think that just because someone does something that benefits us, that they suddenly are our friends. Reality is he was just taking Twitter to make money revengeful. And did you see the movie the Boy Scouts made? Do you really think we have a chance in the culture war, Sticks? No, they started admitting girls into the Boy Scouts years and years ago anyway, so them changing their name literally doesn't change the metric at all. Mike the Wop. Clank, motherfuckers. Clank, I say. Let's go to the first news story, though. This is an important one. And this is not long ago that this was updated, 10 a.m. Georgia appeals court says it will consider Trump's effort to disqualify DA Fani Willis from election subversion case. It's the RICO case against Trump and various co-defendants. In a brief order Wednesday, the court said it will hear the appeal from Trump and others challenging the ruling from Judge Scott McAfee that allowed Willis to remain on the case. No trial date has been set in the sprawling election subversion conspiracy case against Trump, and the decision to consider the appeal is another sign that pretrial efforts to delay a trial are succeeding. I don't think that that's what it's about. I think they genuinely want the case dismissed. And that's really the long and short of it. If Fani Willis is taken off the case, it's going to be kind of difficult to continue the case at all at this point. And I believe that the next in line potentially to try the case at all for a prosecutorial angle would be somebody who actually was Republican appointed, if I remember correctly. So they'll definitely make it a little bit more fair, you know. Tuesday, a federal judge in Florida indefinitely postponed Trump's trial on mishandling classified documents at his Mar-a-Lago estate. And the Supreme Court is yet to rule on Trump's arguments that he has full immunity for actions while president, an issue that has stopped the federal trial on January 6, 2021 related charges. In other words, all of the cases are beginning to fall apart. This is unlikely to succeed. In the end, the appeals court is likely to uphold Fani Willis' appointment to that position. But it'll take time for them to make a decision at all, kicking the can down the road. In the immediate sense, the only one that Trump is really litigating, therefore, actively is Alvin Bragg's bullshit case, where we just heard the testimony the other day from Stormy Daniels. We'll be talking about that later on in this particular live stream. Willis' office declined to comment on the order. Trump attorney Steve Sadow said former president looks forward to presenting interlocutory arguments to the Georgia Court of Appeals as to why the case should be dismissed and Fulton County DA Willis should be disqualified for misconduct in this unjustified, unwarranted political persecution. They may remove Willis but continue the case. That's kind of a win for Trump anyway. It'll delay it. That's a win automatically, and it may collapse the case entirely. I seem to recall a lot of liberals saying that Trump was done for this time, but then I remembered, oh, they say that every single day, every time something is said or done about Trump. RJB917, clankers who want a clear picture of all the Trump trials should check out Robert Galvia on Rumble, and YouTube does a deep dive into daily court events. Great content. Ex-defense lawyer from Arizona. Cool. F. Winters Lodig 152. Any thoughts, Jim Jordan for VP? No, thank you. No. We don't need any Ted Cruz knockoffs. Sassmaster 531. What is your view on the demographic change of the country? Far left saying it's good versus far right saying it's bad. I think that if you applaud it, you're effectively saying white people and oddly black people bad and Hispanic and Asian identity good. If you are against it, then you're effectively saying the inverse, and it's very confusing. I have no problem with the United States having any particular demographic group. I would say that I am white myself. I am Caucasian. Naturally, therefore, I do not believe in white replacement. I don't believe that it would be a good thing because I'd be replacing myself. So it's pretty long and short. Harris, have you ever watched Ali G? What do you think? No, actually, I haven't. Mike the Wop, do you think they have something up the sleeve we don't know about if the lawsuits don't take Donald out? Well, they'll try more lawfare maybe. In the end, they'll probably resort to obstruction. So he gets reelected possibly, and then they just refuse to work with him entirely. Dat Pie over there. The swing state polls are nice, but there should be more polling done in New York State, the actual swing state of the cycle. If Trump clinches, it'll be legendary. He won't win New York State. That won't happen. Now, it looks like Maine and Virginia might end up being the pivot, in which case Trump wins. But next news story, Biden student loan forgiveness rejected, not buying my vote. Yes, people can actually post comments about the proposal to spend over $1 trillion to get rid of student loans, which would raise taxes, create more inflation. I think I know why Biden waited until now, by the way, for the proposal. It's likely to get shot down anyway. If it does go through, it'll create a wave of new inflation. In the case that Trump is reelected, then they can blame Trump for the inflation caused by Joe Biden, which will be hilarious because a lot of commentators with Trump derangement syndrome persist in blaming Trump for the current inflation rate, which is funny because in the first 6 months or something, it's plausible. But after a while, the new dude on the job sort of, the buck stops there. And they're the ones that are directly blamed for the economy, for better or for worse. In some cases, the economy gets fucked and it wasn't presidential policy at all. So we're looking at that. Biden's student loan grift is a shitty idea in general. Again, not just because of the inflation, but because it's unconstitutional, immoral. Asking someone who didn't go to college to pay for the student loans of someone who did. Capping it depending on income. Somebody could have gone into university dirt poor and they've still got debt, but now they're making more money and they're making just enough so that they can't get the loan debt forgiven. Somebody started off very wealthy. They got student loan debt or relatively wealthy, and now they're down and out flipping burgers and they qualify. All sorts of juxtapositions of people's position in life. It takes no account for the individual, only for the group. And that is blatantly wrong. But this article fixates on something different, and there's some nuance there. This focuses on people's pushback against the student protests going on in favor of Gaza and or Hamas and or ceasefire, whatever they're protesting for. With a lot of people fed up about that and saying it's disruptive, wrong, anti-Semitic, whatever. They don't support student loan debt forgiveness because they're like, well, these are the people that are going to get the student loan debt forgiveness. And I don't want it going to them. I don't want to pay these people money. There's an article, I think, on RCP right now about why should we pay for anti-Semites or something like that. Now, I don't agree in full force with that. The fact that a person, if you did impose such a program, and I oppose it completely, the fact that you would take money away from that person for simply attending a protest, a peaceful one that wasn't disruptive, is asinine if you're going to have such a program. I would say, what about somebody who participates in any other form of unlawful protest, a disruptive one, whether it's for a political ideology, an ethnic clad, whatever it happens to be? They're not complaining about them. And that does happen on college campuses and university campuses too. It's only because some of these individuals are explicitly pro-Hamas. And so that apparently is a big problem for some people. My problem runs more that it's unfair to people who are going to have to pay more taxes and higher inflationary pressure attendant that in order to bail people out that are kind of making it. And many, I mean, at least make it degree specific. We don't need to be forgiving the debt of somebody who decided to major in women's studies. It's not necessary. They made their bed, they should lay in it, basically. Andrew Van Halen, rumor has it that Rubio might be Trump's VP choice. Thoughts? Would you still vote for him? I'd still vote for Trump, but I think it'd be a bad idea not bring anything to the ticket. And there are far better opportunities there. Sassmaster. Also, what is your opinion on the likelihood of the only counting citizens in census ever passing? Low, as long as the Democrats control either the House or the Senate. M. Student loan forgiveness is even more infuriating than these performance pieces over Gaza. F. Winters loading 152. I think there's only one VP pick people are floating that would make me reconsider my vote for Trump. Nikki Haley. She's out of the running. There's 0% chance of her being chosen. Ryan McDonald, USA. Trump rally in New Jersey this weekend. Hey, sticks. Sounds cool. Shlomo Goldenstein. I don't know why, but I feel Tim Scott is going to be VP. It's possible. He's definitely on the list. We're just not sure where on the list he is. Again, I think that the best possible opportunity is Tulsi Gabbard. There are people here that disagree with me. They say, no, hell no, not Tulsi. She's a traitor. She'll backstab him. I don't believe so. BW. I think what the earlier commenter meant was, is the demographic change going to mean permanent Dem rule? Maybe. It's not the way demographics work. Demographics have been shifting in the United States and other countries for a very long time. And you never seem to have a universal singular movement in one direction or another for partisan reasons. Tony the Greaser. Sup, cats and chicks. Stay greasy. Now let's shout out our merch partners. We'll be getting a new one soon. Pumpkinfirecrafts.us, where you can get bookmarks, keychains, belt chains, amulets, and engraved spoons, among other things. They also have some non-sticks merchandise available. BiltongUSA.com. Use code STICKS for free shipping, or AntonsUSA.com, the land of tasty meat, and also of Sticks, Hex, and Hammer tumblers, mugs, and shirts. WickedNeedleEmbroidery.BigCartel.com, where you can get cool Sticks, Hex, and Hammer hats. There are several varieties available. This is one of them. The other one has the offset Ouroboros. It's off to the side. That was the first one that I wore. HeritageHeirloomSeedCompany.com, land of the seed survival bucket, as well as the Sticks, Hex, and Hammer soap box. Yes, indeed. We have our cedar, clove, and blueberry blend, which is now my favorite soap of all time. And also, I would like to point out all of those seeds that plant in the garden, pretty much they're all sprouting right now. The carrots are taking a little longer, but it's probably just the variety, just the breed. So it doesn't really matter. Webster'sWares.com/sticks-wares. I'll be giving them their merch shout out soon. They sent me a box of goodies. They've got all sorts of stuff available on their site. As when my favorite, I think, the Sticks, Hex, and Hammer beanies that are available now. You can also get Trump paraphernalia. They gave me this flag behind me as well. Jamandbean.com. That is JAMNbean.com, where you can get delicious coffee and tea. Costa Rica blend, my favorite coffee of all time thus far. They're all good, but that one happens to be my favorite one. And MTPew, that's MTPEW.com, where you can get various ammunition. They've got 40 Smith & Wesson. They've got 9, 223, 556, 45s, etc., much more. You can get it newly made or range brass, actually. So they've got you set up. Back to the news in a moment. Billy Howard, Biden will die a hero of natural causes at the most opportune time to be replaced by a Kamala Newsom or Kamala Obama ticket. Fortification impending. What say you? No, never happen. Kamala could not win an election against Iraq. It just won't happen. If Trump takes Tulsi on, of course, that'd be really funny. He gets to debate Kamala, and then Newsom or Michelle Obama debating Tulsi Gabbard. I don't think it'd go over well for the Democrats. They don't even want Kamala in there. You may remember when I reported on this, this was last month, that James O'Keefe with OMG Media, they did a thing where they were talking to one of the White House cybersecurity directors, actually. And as part of a gay day, James O'Keefe put on basically a Groucho Marx appearance and dyed his hair blonde. And somehow this took him in. Thought he was going to get some good anal sex, I guess, or a good blowjob. And he was rambling about how, yeah, we've thought about shuffling out Biden, but no one wants Kamala. We thought about getting Kamala off the ticket, but then we realized, hey, she's a black female. If we did that, everything would collapse. We'd get eaten alive by the left wing. So we couldn't do that. So, you know, we just have to circle wagons all the time. And this is a person who works in the White House. This is a higher up. This is not a low-level individual. Joe, I love you, Sticks. I miss the old Sticks videos with you on your back porch. Huge fan of yours since 2016. Yeah, I had to have a dedicated office. There's too much chaos around for me to be able to make nice, quiet porch videos. Maybe in the future. Just a sec here. Oh, yeah. Israel-Gaza war. Netanyahu says ceasefire proposal accepted by Hamas falls short of key demands. Yes, indeed. It's a similar deal to the one that Israel would accede to, but it was independently brokered in part by the Egyptians. I wowould note, and I pointed this out in brief this morning, Egypt has every reason to bitch right now because there's an international agreement with regards to the border between Egypt and Israel, the Camp David Accords. This is back in the late 70s, I believe. And Israel is not supposed to be drawing up tanks and troops on that border, actually. The fact that they seized the Gaza side of the Rafah crossing technically violates those long-standing accords that had been in effect. Egypt mainly ran the show there and could help Israel control the flow of goods in and out of Gaza. That was the whole point. But it's being ignored because the Egyptians don't want any problems. That's the long and short of it, especially when Israel has called up its reserve forces. So their military is swollen with manpower right now, and they're getting weapons from the U.S. and other nations. Nobody wants to fuck with them, basically, in the region. So Egypt is playing nice. I would point out as well that Netanyahu does not seem to want to back off of invading Rafah. They've already evacuated a bunch of civilians and secured the border crossing, presumptively to starve the population into submission. It's only a matter of time, presumptively, before they march in. Because Biden, well, through Blinken, I believe it was, the other day said, well, it's not really crossing a red line if Israel decides to take this one border crossing. Yeah, they're violating the peace accord, the joint agreement with Egypt and the United States, but we'll ignore that. That's not a big deal. The fact that we asked them not to go into Rafah and they went into Rafah is not a big deal because it's only limited incursion. This signals to Netanyahu, and the Biden admin, as I've pointed out, is very bad at understanding this. In that part of the world, strength and following through with what you say is valued. That's very important. It's sort of like why the Afghan withdrawal fell apart. It was because Joe Biden went back on the agreement and said, well, you know, we're just going to unilaterally push back the date because I want to spite Trump. And then they tried to blame Trump for the withdrawal's disaster in the first place. And I attempted to explain Punjabi culture is not necessarily very happy when you shake someone's hand and then you don't follow through. You get your hand cut off, basically. The same is true here in the Levantine region. If you make a statement like that and you say you're kind of crossing a line if you go into Rafah, and Netanyahu goes into Rafah anyway, and then Biden takes a step back and says, well, that doesn't really count. That's weakness. Netanyahu has no further reason to listen to anything that Joe Biden says, nor has he really been doing so since day one. Until you have strong Western leadership that understands the diplomatic framework and the social framework of these countries, this sort of thing is going to happen. That's why Hamas attacked in the first place. It's why Israel counterattacked. It's why there's no ceasefire. And I suspect that there won't be one for some time. But Biden's too dumb to realize that. And because he's dumb, he hired people that are dumb, who additionally don't realize that. You think Kamala Harris knows anything about the ins and outs of diplomacy in the Levantine region or South Asia or anywhere else other than, the United States and Western Europe? Of course not. She doesn't understand that. Do you think Blinken does? He doesn't appear to. Every time he goes over to like China or any place like that, he just gets married on his fucking way. Patrick Foley, the current political persecution of Trump reminds me of the Tar Baby story, born and bred in the Briar Patch. Not familiar with that particular story, actually, which means it's probably a well-known one. Tony the Greaser, pomade giveaway at 250 followers, almost there. Pomade giveaway. Imagine I were to grease this hair up, how weird that would look. I don't think it would work very well. Now people are debating different calibers of ammo over on Rumble for some reason. Goodness. Yeah, just, get ammo. It doesn't really matter. Get whatever ammo and guns you want. I've got a 380 here. I've got a Glock 17. That's 9mm, an AR. And then I've got the 22 revolver. That's mainly for plinking. Good for garden defense. You don't need to hit the gopher with a 5.56 round. That would be retarded. A waste of much more expensive ammunition. Padre speaks. Hey, Sticks, did you know Stefan Amaris did nothing wrong? Hi, Volk, take your meds. Goodness. Mr. Moneyclips, nice hat. Can you get it signed? Trump Sticks 2024. Yeah, but first I'd have to go to a Trump rally to do that, or a meetup or something. And I'm antisocial. I do not like crowds of people. I also don't like being idle and waiting in line for 5 or 6 hours to see Trump speak. Well, I'd love to see Trump speak. I can also see him by turning on my computer. In all honesty, less interested in that. I'm not the sort of person that wants to go to a concert or to a shopping mall or really anything that involves more than a handful of people. Little family get-together, that's enough for me. Sometimes too much even that. Il Sarto. Do you know what separates Judeo-Christian from Abrahamic? I can't figure out why we technically differentiate. Well, Abrahamic technically would also involve the diaspora like Islam. That would be an Abrahamic religion, technically speaking. Oh, shirt just fell down. I thought it was the cat sleeping in the cupboard. No, but Judeo-Christian would just be Jew and Christian. Of course, Christianity is an offshoot of Judaism. This is denied by some Christian nationalists and so forth, but it is. The Old Testament is there in the Bible for a reason. It's not just there for decoration. You know, a lot of it's more historical stuff than anything. I mean, technically, it poses as historical. You know, enough about that conversation. CNN legal analyst stunned by Stormy Daniels admitting that she hates Trump in her testimony. Big dick deal. Daniels owes Trump roughly $500,000 by court order. Yes, indeed. This testimony was strange if you watched any part of it. Stormy Daniels was acting kind of frenetic anyway. Merchan had to come out after she's gone and say, well, some of that shouldn't have been said. Gets queried by the defense, hey, you know, you should declare a retrial as necessary without her testimony because it's completely irrelevant. Her entire testimony, for the most part, was literally nothing more than salacious claims that have literally nothing to do with business fraud. I mean, think about what this case pertains to. The case pertains to the claim that Donald Trump attempted to hush up Stormy Daniels, despite in her testimony, she said that he claimed that he didn't care if his wife found out at the time, kind of dampening why he would pay her hush money in the first place. So that makes no sense. The entire case is about business fraud, artificially upgraded. The idea was that Donald Trump, and this claim will fall through, attempted to get elected by suppressing public knowledge of this using his finances. He attempted effectively election interference, which is absolutely hysterical. And they're felony charges because he attempted to cover this up by putting it through his lawyer. All of these claims are seemingly false. None of them really make sense. Trump denies even paying hush money. In fact, won a case against Stormy Daniels over the same fucking issue. And originally she had an NDA or something like that. She made several public statements to the press. The claim was never true in the first place. The only thing that Merchan blocked was discussion of Trump's genitals. So she couldn't, you know, describe, well, he had a mushroom penis and Yeti pubes or whatever. He was a two-pump chum. The only reason that they admitted this testimony was to try to humiliate Donald Trump. But it doesn't really work because the claim's already been out there this entire time. I would further point out, just being pragmatic, do you think that in 2016, had Stormy Daniels come out and made a bunch of claims and it was all out there and everything, do you really think that it would have stopped any Trump voter from voting for Trump? If anything, it would have just made him guffaw. He had no reason to pay hush money. He apparently didn't care, according to Stormy herself. And this testimony never should have been admitted. It's immaterial to money laundering, fraud, anything associated with that. It's immaterial. It has no place in the case. In fact, if Donald Trump does lose this case, upon appeal, any sane court's going to overturn the goddamn verdict, specifically because of this. I mean, Merchan really is shooting himself in the foot in one way. This and the threatening to jail Trump thing. It's making a lot of mistakes. If you want the decision to be binding, then you wouldn't admit this testimony. You would strike it from the record. You wouldn't allow this testimony because it's gonna help Trump on appeal. I don't know. These people are completely incompetent. Tony the Greaser, what do I need to do to get that to happen? Well, I just you've got a shout out there. You know, Tony the Greaser. You can follow him over there. He was going to try to give away pomade, I guess. Zeem the Despot, as much as I can I read that out? As long as you distrust, as much as you distrust certain groups of people that are big in the news right now, as a Christian, all I can say is screw the Pharisees. Yeah, it's just one subdivision of Judaism. I can at least negotiate with them. I can't say the same with Islam. The U.S. learned that during the Barbary Wars. I would point out that actually some of the Barbary kingdoms held to their promises. The very first nation that signed a treaty of friendship with the United States was Morocco. Most people do not remember that. American Outlier. Hi, Sticks, longtime viewer. Here are my suggestions for some cabinet spots. VP General Flynn. AG Larry Elder. Secretary of State Vivek Ramaswamy. Secretary of Homeland Lieutenant Colonel Alan West. Secretary of Health and Human Services Ben Carson. I like that one a lot. Treasury Hope or DeLorenzo. And Secretary of Commerce Lou Rockwell. I think Flynn should be Defense, and I think that VP should be Tulsi Gabbard. F. Winters Lodig, there was an episode of Joe Scarborough yelling and imploring Biden to address college protests. I'm trying to help you. It was hilarious. I think I saw a clip of that, actually. So, yeah, Stormy gave testimony. It was literally completely useless for the prosecution. I have no clue why they even sought the testimony. other than trying to humiliate Trump. I mean, maybe they realize, hey, we're not going to be able to get him found guilty. This case isn't even going to hold up on appeal if it even gets through. So we're just going to trot Stormy out. We'll have a good time. Sigil Stone, a mushroom penis? Is she saying his dick is a fun guy? Yeah. President Irina Vladimirovna Putina. Hey, Sticks, I actually want to run for president of the U.S., but I won't be 35 in time until the 2036 election. Got a good white pill that the country will still meaningfully exist by then. Oh, it'll exist. Whether it exists in a denigrated or uplifted form remains to be seen. It's partially requisite on us getting Trump reelected. So yeah, don't get black-pilled. Just get active. You should get into local politics now or something like that, or business or something along those lines. And you know, always become a military veteran, although under Joe Biden's so-called leadership, it's probably not the greatest of ideas. You know, you'll get passed up for promotion by the person that has to dilate every day. Next news story. The new Swiss Army knife will be missing a key feature. It's the knife, specifically. So this is now the Swiss Army cook tool, actually. The maker of the Swiss Army knife is working on a new version of the classic multi-tool, which won't have a blade. We are in the early stages of developing pocket tools without blades, a spokesperson for Swiss firm Victorinox told CNN in a statement Tuesday, adding that they will complement the existing range of multi-tools rather than replacing them. So you can still get a Swiss Army knife, but now you can get the dumbed-down version for dumb people who might cut themselves. With innovation at the core of our brand, we are constantly listening to our consumers and their needs. Can I please ask this? What consumer called up the Swiss Army knife company and said, you know what you should do? It would really make me happy if you had this multi-tool but didn't include the actual knife, despite the fact that it's called a Swiss Army knife. That would make me happy. I can't really buy it with the blade, but I really like one. I just don't want a knife on it. Well, what the fuck is the point then? Don't call it a Swiss Army knife. And acknowledge that there is an appetite for the functionality, versatility, and craftsmanship of the Swiss Army knife is known for in more specialized fields and situations, said the spokesperson. Let's see. CEO Carl Elsener Jr. told Swiss media outlet Blick he is concerned about increasingly stringent regulations on knives in many markets. For example, increasing concerns over the prevalence of knife crimes means the British government is considering new legislation on bladed articles, and Elsener himself referenced the country's rules. In England or certain Asian countries, you are sometimes only allowed to carry a knife if you need to have it to do your job or operate outdoors, said Elsener. In the city, however, when you go to school, to the cinema, or go shopping, carrying pocket knives is severely restricted, which is absolutely insane in every possible way, shape, and form. If somebody wants to do a knife attack, they're going to use an actual blade, not a little tiny knife. How effective do you fucking think a Swiss Army knife would be in a mass stabbing scenario anyway? No, they're going to grab a machete or something like that. Elsener cited the fact that knives are seen as weapons rather than tools in some countries, and revealed that the company is working on new tools for specific sports or outdoor activities such as cycling. Yeah, how wonderful. So you can get a Swiss Army knife without the knife in it. That's exactly what public demand demands. I'm sure that many, many people contacted them about this. Now, dude, I don't think anyone fucking contacted them about this. I doubt that it was their own initiative. I doubt that a single person ever sent them an email, a text, or a call, or a piece of paper, a fucking snail mail. I doubt that there was a single human being who actually contacted them asking them to create a Swiss Army knife without the knife in it. It's sort of like renaming the Boy Scouts. We're not even going to bother talking about that because they've had Girl Scouts and the Boy Scouts anyway. BW, why would he even sleep with that road whore? Surely he could get something that wasn't heavily used. He probably did. It's just that she probably didn't actually black out like she claimed. She originally claimed she hadn't slept with him. It's very bizarre that he would pay hush money to someone who he confided in. He didn't care if his wife found out. You think that that's the only example, by the way, of somebody who Donald Trump did sleep with on the side while he was with his wives? He was notorious as a playboy and a cheater. Absolutely notorious. These women are not marrying him for his good looks. Maybe his first wife, when he was a lot younger, that was part of it. They're marrying him for money and power, to be a power couple. That's the long and short of it. And that's it. Melania is not with him because she is like, oh, Donald, you're so virile. Oh, my God. I just love seeing your pudgy body naked. That's not why she's with him. Not in any way, shape, or form. Everybody fucking knows that. Not saying that she doesn't have feelings for him, but it's sort of like the Clintons. They're a power couple. Hillary and Bill didn't get together for anything other than to make power and because they had shared perversions. In the case of the Trumps, Melania's with him because Trump wants a hot lady. Melania wants money and stuff like that. She wanted a good upbringing for her child that she had with Donald Trump. And so it was that. It's a power marriage more than anything else. I'm sure there's some attraction, but I'm sure that's not the main reason for it. That's just the long and short of it. RJB917 just followed Tony the Greaser on Instagram. Clank Nation bumped the man's numbers. Trip Boom, what are they going to do when people start using lawnmower blades? Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of bladed things. I mean, in Britain, you have to show an ID to get a freaking kitchen knife. I've got like 3 swords. Well, technically 4 if you count the artillery sword. I consider that more of an elongated bayonet. I got a bayonet. I've got a bunch of knives of all sorts. I got a buck knife on me right now. I've got all sorts of knives. And in the United States, that's okay. Sigil Stone 17 asked that rock climber that was trapped under a boulder for like a week how good a Swiss Army knife is at cutting flesh. Hint, not very good, and boy, did he struggle to cut his arms off. Retards. Goodness. Candy Stuffed Corpse. Hey, Sticks, longtime viewer. Since the Sargon call-out, what do you rate the chances of a hot war with Russia if Biden wins again? Very low. I think that it'll continue to be the same opportunistic Cold War bullshit that we're seeing now because it's lucrative. Nuclear war is not lucrative. You know, you reduce the population and all of the infrastructure and stuff you have, you know, maybe your mansion gets vaporized. Tony the Greaser, I meant, what do I need to do to get you to grease your hair? I'm not going to be doing that because I hate the feel of greasiness in my hair anyway, and I'm phobic about it. Like, I won't let anyone touch my hair or face if I have any sweat or grease in it at all. It has to be freshly cleaned, otherwise it's off limits. It's one of my pet peeves, greasy hair. I fucking hate it. Finally, we have an article. U.S. politics here. Maine in play by MAC. Exclusive. Yes, indeed. I'm going to try to skip down here. Where was the polling, actually? Here we go. A critical insights poll conducted in October. So that's a while ago. Again, this is all grain of salt mode. Has Joe Biden up only 1 point statewide, while a February poll, that's a little better, conducted by Pan Atlantic, has Biden trailing Donald Trump 32-38, a shocking margin considering that Biden carried the state by nearly 9 points in 2020. The same polls show Trump leading in Maine's 2nd congressional district by 14 and 20 points, respectively, signaling deep trouble for the Biden camp after Trump carried the district by just 7.7 in 2020. That one's a little more believable, although you could see a significant swing in Maine. I think there's only one more recent poll that I saw, although I could be thinking of the February poll, from Maine at all. And that's because Maine had been lurching blue so much, people stopped polling it. I haven't seen a single poll from Virginia in months. Well, Virginia was a lot closer than it was in 2020 or even 2016 in the latest poll, but that was like 5 months ago. Since then, Donald Trump has clinched the primaries. He is the nominee, so we know that. You've seen the flooding of the field with independent candidates. Some of them don't even poll for them still. And we've seen Biden's approval fall precipitously. We need more polling. How the hell am I supposed to do poll analysis without polls? Plenty of stuff from the swing states. I've seen more polls from Texas than from Maine in the last 6 months. That doesn't make any sense. Texas isn't in play. Biden is leading in Maine's 1st congressional district, bolstered by the liberal stronghold of Portland, by only 8 to 16 points, which are strikingly low numbers compared to his nearly 23-point victory in 2020. Keeping in mind, of course, he was outsizedly polled in favor of in those polls. Trump closed a 3-point gap, actually, in the final tally. These major polling shifts raise 2 crucial, potentially election-defining questions. First, by how large of a margin can Biden lose Maine's 2nd and still win the statewide vote? Second, how close does Trump need to be on the 1st congressional district to have a shot at winning statewide? I would say there's a shot at it. It's less than a 50-50 chance that Trump wins Maine, assuming current polling, of which we have none, remains in swing. We need more polls. I wish that pollsters would cast the net a little bit more broadly, and instead of fixating on states that had fluxed back and forth just between 16 and 20, the 2016-2020, they would branch out to states that at least in early preliminary polling appeared to be potentially in play. They may be outlier polls. You're only looking at 2 polls here. That's not an aggregate. But let's say we had 4 or 5 polls and they showed roughly the same thing. Well, then I would favor Trump to win the state. Right now, I give the advantage to Biden because he won it in 2020. But that being said, we don't have any further numbers to go on. I think it's plausible, though, that Maine is in play. And if it looks like it's going to be close to 50-50, I would recommend Trump to go there and campaign in a couple of places. It would be definitely something to do. Virginia is the other big one. It's more, I think Maine would be more likely to be close than Virginia, but it would be, you'd have a shot. If you take Virginia, then you can lose one of the battleground states that you might, you know, ballot printers go burr in and still win potentially. Sigil Stone, we need more polls. The stripper industry is in dire straits. King of Biltong, good morning from Anton's Meat and Eat. Free shipping for your biltong using code STICKS on www.biltongusa.com and www.antonusa.com. Weak men create bad times. Bad times create strong men. Strong men eat biltong. Yeah. Billy Howard. October surprise. Biden passes away from natural causes. What Dem ticket do you think will replace in order to fortify a win? Biden can't win even with fortification. What options does the cabal have? Well, the problem is the heir apparent's Kamala, and she would definitely take it up. But she is way weaker than Joe Biden as a candidate, because at least he, among liberals, they consider him a befuddled old man. With Kamala, a lot of them really fucking hate her, especially female voters, oddly enough. Kamala has a vicious fan base, but it's very small. So I don't know. I mean, they might not be feasibly able to convince her to step down, especially at the 11th hour when you're already in the general election. Gabriel 7660. All right, everyone, we should be live. Let's make sure that's actually the case over on Rumble, of course. I see chat is working. I must say it every day. Subject Noble. It's not like you can make a knife with a piece of scrap metal, a grinder, a turd rag, and duct tape. Yeah, of course not. You can't possibly do that. And it's not like you can buy knife sharpeners to really refine it and make it more usable. Wolf Track 6, Clank from Californicated, Colorado. Yeah, Colorado's got some tough times it's going through politically. Julian Fuentes. Hey, Sticks, did you get to see Tim Pool without his beanie? No, he kept it on. I think he prefers to have a hat on, you know. I think he thinks it looks cool, I guess. We've got Sticks Hexenhammer beanies. Oh, next time I'm there, I'll have to bring him one, actually. That'd be funny. Get him to wear it just once. It'd be like, just for this one show, put this one on. It'd be hilarious. Swiss Army knife without a blade is a crappy Leatherman. Yeah, I don't understand it. You know, your brand is known across the world as Swiss Army knife. Well, there's no knife on this instrument, so don't call it a knife. Call it the Swiss Swiss cock tool or something like that. I think I had one a while ago. I know my mom used to have one, but it was all fucked up. Like, it was real old school, and it hadn't been properly maintained, so some rust and shit. I don't know. I prefer bigger knives myself. Oh, for anyone that hasn't seen it, yeah, I've got it right here. This is the one I normally carry, the buck knife. I've got a bunch of others. Should show off the whole collection someday. I love the artillery blade that I bought, too. Wasn't that expensive. I can't remember. How much did I pay for that? I can't remember exactly. Took a while to sharpen it, though. It was blunt. Yes, I know. For collector's purposes, you're not supposed to sharpen the blade. I don't give a damn. I sharpened it, oiled it up, got it all nice and clean. I got it to the point where you got to be careful when you're cleaning it. You don't want to do what I did with my cavalry saber and run it through the meat of your thumb accidentally, and then you're like, oh shit, and the blood starts pouring out instantaneously. That was not fun. It's still, by the way, it still itches or hurts a little bit. I always thought this was bullshit about scar tissue, but it really does still itch or hurt whenever the weather is weird, like today. Archer Jolson, what's up with BitChute requiring you to not block ads? I have not seen this myself, and I use it every day. It might be the ad blocker that you're utilizing. I use uBlock and AdBlock Plus, Twain. Sigil Stone, that's not a knife. Show us a knife. That was a good movie. Crocodile Dundee. I like the part where he's in the bar there and there's that dude in drag and flirting with him, and then he reaches in between his pants. He's like, this isn't a girl, or something like that. You couldn't put that in a comedy movie these days, now could you? Means you've got money coming too, says Also Duro. Yes, actually, there is some on its way right now, which is the irony. But no, anytime it's like damp weather like this, especially if it's warm and damp, it twinges a little bit. It's what Dick is looking for, says Trip Boom. I see Dick Brain is back, repeatedly spamming fart, fart, fart over on Rumble chat. Well, this may be disrupting. I have no problem with it because people can always ignore him. I choose not to because I find trolling to be funny. By the way, we haven't seen that one dude who makes weird references over on YouTube and the super chats in a couple of streams, have we? He hasn't been around all week. He wasn't here Monday, I don't think, was he? Huh. I know I didn't see him yesterday. He hasn't been around today either. Maybe he finally got a job. Droog, when you edit books, do you do scholarly work like extra footnotes and bibliography, or just clean up the text? I do cover art forward. I have them illustrated. You always have to go through and reformat them, do 1,000 grammar changes. Usually I de-archaicize the language too, not within quotation. So if it's quoting Old English or something, I'll keep that intact. But you'll find, especially like, for example, a work was printed in London in 1860. It'll spell labor as L-A-B-O-U-R. I turn it into the English version L-A-B-O-R for the main modern audience that's purchasing the works. It's the same word, it's just spelled differently. Sometimes you also find spelling errors. You got to realize that especially back in the day, especially with herbals, a lot of these works were not necessarily professionally edited to begin with. They were compiled by one person and then sent to a press. So you'll find all sorts of spelling errors. Sometimes you need to infer a word or two because there'll be a problem with the original document that's been scanned. And so you have to look at context and figure out what they meant to say. I've replicated entire paragraphs that way before in part. You have to parse it together. You have to use your intuition. Crossover Maniac, some former Trump aide, who's also a tradcon, claims Trump will ban porn. How likely are the social conservatives in pushing Trump into banning it? A fringe will attempt to continue to do that, but he won't. He's not interested in that. Although it would be funny if a serial cheater and playboy were to try to ban pornography. I will say that. It would be very interesting to see the reaction. Pablo Mil, good morning, fearless leader. That garden tan looks good on you. Have a great day. Thank you very much. Yeah, I look more tanned here, though, because for some reason, when I do my live streams, you can see like the intense color here and here, and on those stripes. It really accentuates red colors more. And I can't directly control that over here on StreamYard, I don't think. Well, maybe I can. Let me go into my setting. Let me check that. General. No, it wouldn't be that. Let's see. Touch up my appearance. Am I kawaii? No. Well, we're not going to do that. A little bit of a subtle touch up to smooth things out is fine, but that doesn't do anything to the color. No, I don't want a virtual background. That's not. Yeah, I can control that over on Logi software. Apparently here I can't control it. So I don't know. That ketchup looks awfully good back there with the red filter. Everton Plaza. Hey, Sticks, been a big viewer for a while, and it's rare I catch you live. Would available in Twitter DMs to have a discussion on metaphysics. I'm a little bit busy to have lengthy philosophical discussions at the moment, but you can message me, yeah. Can answer a few questions, maybe. I got a lot of work to do over the coming days. Just trust me. Like more than usual. I mean, I make 5 videos every day. I live stream 5 days a week. I live stream with the quartering today and also on Mondays. I edit books, I garden, I transit around and do everything else I have to do. So other than in the evenings when I get a little while to sack out, I don't really have a lot of leisure time. Oh, and then I have to do the news crawling too, because sometimes I don't have enough in the docket for the next day or for the day of, even from the news tips that people send. I do appreciate them a lot. It really helps alleviate my burdens, but you know. I like to have between 5 and 7 topics per live stream, the ones that I do. And then, of course, I need something to talk about in each of the main videos that I make And that's 7 days a week that I do that. Can't beat Anton's meat. Oh, God. I have to go hang biltong, says Anton. I will listen, but got to get off chat. Have fun, my man. Hopefully there's some more venison coming soon. I think you just mailed me, actually, a package. When was that? Was that this morning or something like that? Yeah, what was it? Yeah, 19 hours ago. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, the venison is gone. No, unsurprisingly. I think I'll open the elk next. I really need to dig into that and see how that tastes. JJ Lovecraft, love from Houston. Clank, thank you very much. Yeah. Can't beat Anton's meat. We need biltong made from Japanese feces one day. Yes, I covered that some time ago, that some Japanese scientist extracted proteins and shit from human shit and turned it into meat. And I'm thinking, okay, this is even beyond the weirdness of eating the bugs. If I want something to substitute for meat, give me something that's savory. No, I don't want bugs. That's meat too anyway. And I don't want to eat shit, and I don't want it grown in a lab. It's just all I'll say. If it's made, and I don't really like soy either. Although it is competently able to be textured like meat, it's not healthy for you. Mushroom is good. You saute up some mushroom, make a mushroom burger. Beans, especially lentils. Lentil burgers are great. Almost as savory as meat, by the way. Full of protein and really yummy, and you can herb roast them. I like the old school ones that were made with like textured carrot and sometimes beet and stuff. Sometimes bean. And also quinoa can be used for something similar. You can add that in. It's Amaranthus family. Actually studied that the other night. Better for you than corn or soy, certainly. There are all sorts of stuff that you can use as a savory substitute. But soy and bugs are still meat, and soy is bad for you. So, I don't know. I've had some black bean burgers. Liz has made those. They're great. And, you know, there's all sorts of things that'll fill you up. You don't need meat, although you should eat it anyway. But I'm not growing the meat feces. I mean, I'm not eating the meat feces. Poop meat. Yeah, no, I think I'll skip that one. I mean, I'm game to try all sorts of weird stuff, but when you introduce human poop into the mix, I'm going to avoid it. Gabriel 7660, what will the perception of the justice system be when all these Trump cases fall apart? Assuming that they do, they'll be humiliated. Other than the Supreme Court, they'll be chuckling at it. Fifi Gigantor, shout out to my cat Tack, who just turned 19 years old. Excellent. Congratulations to Kitty. I had a dream last night, actually, that I was in this big room. It was like a conference room or a small gym or something. There were like blankets in the middle of the floor, and there were a bunch of cats and kittens that were playing around. I was there. My daughter there was laughing at them and saying kitty, kitty, actually. It was pretty fun. It was a fun dream. I had other dreams. I can't remember them. Do Me Grunt Ventures. Any more movie suggestions? I took your word of No Country for Old Men and loved it, except for parts at the ending. I don't know. I liked the ending, too. Let's see. More movie suggestions. Watch, what should you watch first? Black Moon by Louis Malle. That's an old 70s art movie. And the entire thing is, well, I won't give away. Don't even look it up. Watch it and then see what you think of it. And then I'll be able to tell you in the future my interpretation. It's the agreed upon one. It's, yeah, I don't want to give away spoilers. It's one weird hell of a goddamn movie. Also, it's got boobs in it, so, you know, if you enjoy that. Gristle lumps, you will live in the pod and eat da poo-poo. Yeah, we've been downgraded from having to eat cricket burgers to having to eat human shit, I suppose. By the way, these are the people that supposedly care very much for the human race. I think by human race, they mean themselves. Certain members of the human race, which may be insectoid or reptilian in nature themselves, according to some. So we're not quite sure. Need to get the Galactic Council up in here really quick to save us. I don't believe in much of that stuff, but I do find it fascinating. The New Age movement is hilarious, especially the postmodern New Age. By the way, there have been several New Age movements. First one was Victorian in nature. The first one was your great-great-great-grandparents with a Ouija board or a pentagram on the floor trying to do spiritual work and listening to Blavatsky's works get recited in oratory. Then you had the 60s New Age. That was more drugs than anything else. Then you had the post-New Age, really burgeons in the mid to late 80s especially, but it persists even now. And it's space aliens and psychic visions and stuff like that, and channeling. Bam. Why is soy not good for you? My daughter was allergic to milk for 2 years, and we gave her soy milk for that time period. You should use Jersey milk or goat milk, actually, which is tasty. Soy contains xenoestrogens, and unless it is fermented into soy sauce, which processes it, should not be eaten at all. Jim Marshall. I'm sailing away. Set an open course for the Virgin Seas. Anyways, I think I'll go offline now. I think there's a little bit of a lull in the rain. It's only sprinkling. I think I can get the corn and the beans into the garden in a short bit. And that's rather important. All the other hot weather crops are out there. There's no time like the present. So I'm going to grow some food because, you know, it's in short supply, food that's affordable. And I got all sorts of seeds and shit, and it's going to be a fun time. I will be back tomorrow with my next live stream, again, roughly 11:30 p.m. Eastern, with more news topics. I will also be going live, remember, at 5:30 p.m. Eastern today with the quartering on his broadcast. So I'll share that out on Twitter later when he gets me the link, and we'll probably talk about more news topics. That's what I'm talking about. Anyways, that's about all. Peace out.